Malole Soifua, Tawai, it's a busy morning, like a busy week we've had here in Parliament.
Well, my love, after more than 8 hours talking about busy week in the Parliament, na minute until no lem of city moltulango for le fanga malo nei but congratulations, your new portfolios. Wow, isn't that too many for you, Honourable Minister?
They grow us really well in Samoa.
Yeah.
So we learn to move with things. For me, the finance portfolios that I effectively have now, which is economic development, Minister of Revenue, and associate finance. Well, I think it's the first a Pacific person in New Zealand has held any of those portfolios.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to my technical tax background that I have as a lawyer, a real honour always to have them. Would have been better perhaps, the situation that we didn't have this week with one of our members, our friend Kitty Allen, but for me and my family, it's still a responsibility which they helped me to carry.
Yeah. Okay, Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, obviously this week and last week, Malo Minister be on Famavai, Maitonu, or Nisha Vaingale Motonu. What's happening in the Labour caucus and Labour government, Honourable Minister?
I think what you're seeing is basically just this what comes with a lot of pressure. What had happened was one of our previous ministers, Kitty Allen, who was the Minister of Justice, she got into a car accident. She was obviously over the alcohol limit. The Prime Minister had no choice but to, accept her resignation because she resigned. And he wouldn't have let her keep it anyway because it's untenable for a minister who is a Minister of Justice to, be drink driving. So as a result, she is our friend. She is our colleague. She is looking to resign at the election. She is home with her whānau at the moment, receiving care. She is a really passionate person, but she made a wrong decision, and the Prime Minister had to make sure that he was clear in his intentions that she wouldn't be able to be a minister anymore.
Yeah. Okay. One of the questions that I need to ask you, please, Honourable Minister, why is Labour and the Prime Minister scared of taxing the rich people? Because, wealth tax, capital gains tax is something that he's not supporting. Why is that?
So the Prime Minister made the call not to continue with, because they were considering it as part of budget process, not to continue with a wealth tax or a capital gains tax under his leadership. And the reason why he made that call is, given the current economic conditions, to have such a massive tax regime shake-up, he did not believe that that's what you could do right now. So he has ruled it out. Other parties are supportive of it, and it's one of those things that as you go through election policies, Labour will release its tax policy for the election shortly. I can't do it here. I'm sorry. But basically, the Prime Minister made the call that given the current economic climate, that they couldn't do that right now.
Okay, what's your, what do you think? The government is not looking good at the moment. We have 3 months away from the general election. What do you think?
I accept we've had a messy week in the respect that we've been having to shuffle some portfolios. Dealing with one of our ministers having to resign and the cure of her as well. But at the same time, every day is a new day, and you have to stay focused. So for me, and for me in the role that I have to carry in my electorate, in the ministerial portfolios, we just do the job, and that's what I'm going to be focused on.
Right. Okay. Honourable Minister, I just found out this morning that the government will soon announce GST. Obviously, the Mailitawo vegetables. Do you think you support that?
The government hasn't. Oh well. Labor hasn't released our tax policy.
Yeah.
I think National wanted to release our tax policy. So again, I can't say as to what that is. That's before a call for the Prime Minister, and it'll come in the upcoming weeks. But as I said to a number of people yesterday, because I was questioned quite heavily on it, it doesn't matter what the tax policy is. If I come back as the Minister of Revenue back in October, my job is to make it workable, and I'm the best pair of hands for that, given my experience in tax policy.
Do you think it's a good thing to take GST out of the cost of the vegetables? Do you think it's a good thing?
I think it's a good thing that we consider how we can reduce the cost of living for families. Yeah.
Okay. If I may ask you, you are the Associate Minister for Housing. There's still complaints about quality housing. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. What's the update on that, please?
Yeah, so the Healthy Home Standard, when we came in 2017, there was no requirements on landlords as to how they keep homes, what the heating sources are, what the insulation is. There were building code that you've got to follow, but there was nothing around the standards that they need to keep for renters. So when we came in 2017, we put in what are called Healthy Home Standards. Landlords have up to 2025 to put in these new standards. So that's around insulation, that's around a heating source. What has happened for us is we're not going to wait till 2025 to start monitoring it. So yes, there are still some homes that are not up to standard, but actually what people can do is they can contact our housing agency. And what we've conducted over the last couple of years are thousands of rental investigations. And where some are not up to standard within the current regime, we've been issuing fines, notices, and education. So I accept, there are still some homes that are not up to standard. I really, really encourage our people that if their home is not up to standard or that they're having issues, see their local MP. There are a number of local MPs that can help them through that process. They can also contact an 0800 number to basically report a breach of that.
Honourable Minister, I used to be the Associate Minister for Health. I just found out this week that Health New Zealand keeps St John's coding after National MP Dr. Shetty Shane tag along. What's your take on this?
It really comes down to the patient consent.
Yeah.
So, when you're in an ambulance, and I understand that a couple of the situations he attended, a person who was giving birth and the aftermath of someone that had committed suicide, consent is really important. So you expect when you ring the 111 for an ambulance that you're going to get the health workers to come and help you. Yep. To have someone else along with that who's an observer, which you may not have given consent to, is for me concerning. And so I understand that Health New Zealand, or Te Whatu Ora, has spoken to St John, the ambulance service who provided that MP with the observer, capability, have spoken to them around their expectations, because it wasn't just in the ambulances that he was riding along, he was also entering into the hospital emergency wards. But again, you've got to look back to the patient is possibly in a vulnerable position. Do they have the ability to consent? And in some cases, it would appear that, given some of the call-outs, which I understand he attended in media, that is questionable.
Okay, finally, any new announcement from the government this week, Honourable Minister, please?
So there have been, the main thing is that we've been supporting a lot through economic development. For me, I released what was called the aerospace strategy. That was at the end of last week. So the aerospace strategy, our aerospace, like space, drones, satellites, it's one of our fastest growing industries in New Zealand. So as part of that strategy, we when we were developing it, we released $15 million for it. Last week, I re-announced an additional $12 million for this aerospace strategy. And for the main thing that we're going to be focusing on is education and research. So as you know, Ministry Pacific Peoples has the Te Law Scholarship, so STEAM scholarships for science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. this is a really good opportunity for our Pacific children as they go through those STEM subjects to look at a career in aerospace because they get paid top dollar and they get to build and design, things like satellites that help us with GPS. And I think that, our kids have an opportunity to really make a massive difference given the way that we think, the way that we look after our communities, and coupled with Te Loa scholarships, I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay, before I let you go, do you have spare time to watch the FIFA World Cup going on here in New Zealand and Australia?
Yep, as Minister of Economic Development, I've been to 3 of the games, so the 2 football ferns and the South African team. But this week, I am going to be watching the Wellington Rugby League Grand Finals. We've got 2 of my Porirua teams in it. The men's team is playing off, and then our women's Valkyries team. So, it's always good to be supporting our big teams, but actually sometimes it's good to be home to support local. So go the Porirua Vikings.
Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, thank you so much for your time. Manuia for the weekend.
Yeah, manuia for the weekend. Thank you.